1994, James Moyer Franks decided to create an outlet for his growing cramps, unintentionally pandering to un-PC culture. A pre-Y2K vulgar lyrics were in the ranks, called it the Bloodhound Gang. Everything that they sang about had something to do with how human life began, but at the very same time spoke volumes for its subtext of homosexuality and the adverseness to it at the time. The Defense of Marriage Act was enacted in 1996, and it took America another 20 years to legalize it. Well, realistically, we know it isn't drugs, so what's the harm in letting people be what they are? We know it's not the guns that kill, so when a trans kid gets shot, who was the one behind the trigger? How many people called your kid a slur? Don't you think you would make them eat their words? We know it's not the guns that kill, so when 15 people die, who was the one behind the trigger? Watching Michael Moore talk to Americans about what the right to bear arms really represents is like watching an actual bear try to figure out why reported acts of gun violence have gone up 20%. The town that Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold grew up in was the same place they would make an attempt to blow up in, and no one saw a problem with the fact that Littleton was also home to an establishment for weapons of destruction. Clinton bombed a Sudanese aspirin factory in 1998. It's beyond me how this is something that's still allowed to be up for debate. And realistically, we know it isn't drugs, so what's the harm in letting people keep themselves armed? We know it isn't peace that sells, so when a black man gets shot, who was the one behind the trigger? We only want to keep your children safe, even if that means breeding grounds for hate. We know it's not the guns that kill, so when Chuck Heston holds his rallies, who's the one behind the trigger? When Parkland loses students, who's the one behind the trigger? When Jackie O gets widowed, who's the one behind the trigger? In Paradise, Nevada, was it Steve behind the trigger? In Canada, just 1,300 deaths, how do you figure? 42,654 is the picture of 46 white men who pulled the trigger.